All right, let's go and see how the internet did react to the game yesterday. We all good? All right, cool. Next up is, first up is Vicario on Instagram. So effing Spursy. I love it.
Brilliant. He's been on top form. The history of the Tottenham. And I love that. And so effing Spursy. Where's he off to? Private
Italy,
jet
I
somewhere.
reckon.
Yeah, for sure.
Mari says, Your Majesty, this trophy is all yours. The way Solanke just handed Son the trophy there.
Love that. With a bow. Fantastic. Giving royalty. He's royalty now, Son. Come on.
He is. He is Tottenham
Absolutely.
royalty.
Yeah, the pictures of Sonny with the trophy yesterday were phenomenal. So great.
BLTHFC saying, the fact is in Feb we sacrificed coming 11th to 14th for a chance of winning a European trophy. It paid off. Of course, this shouldn't be made a regular occurrence. Ange's mindset was breaking the drought over finishing higher. I doubt next season will be the same. Let's see if Levy keeps him. And yeah, I mean, that's what we've been kind of speaking about today. And the reality is, right, finishing 17th, finishing somewhere like 13th, like, really, who cares?
It doesn't make a difference to me. And I think, yes, I think in a different world, if we were in a different point, obviously you wouldn't want to just sacrifice the league form to you know, for a cup, and you still want to maintain some sort of standards in the league. But I think just for this club right now, I just do think it was the right decision. I think it's probably the right thing to do. And you're not getting those scenes if we don't do that. I don't think you're not getting this feeling and the joy, and also breaking the cycle, breaking that cycle of disappointment, and actually, you know, believing we can do this and we can win these trophies. And yeah, I think for me, once March came, we were so far off the European places anyway. There was really not much point. Obviously you have to try and improve the league, not losing intentionally. I doubt Ange went into games losing, but when it comes to prioritizing, there was no point not prioritizing those Europa League
But everyone at that moment in time says we have to prioritize the Europa League.
And that's what it looks like.
And that's what it is.
Especially with our squad, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Like right now.
Yeah.
But when he's prioritizing the Europa League, the Premier League teams, we don't have the squad.
And we had players that were just coming back from long injuries. Like, we had to just bleed them in. We couldn't just play them all every single game. Otherwise they would have got injured again, and some of them did. Yeah,
and then in the Premier League as well, we're playing like proper teenagers, like throughout the whole team, the likes of Gray, Otel, Odebear, playing Davis at centre back. Like we're playing players out of position, sometimes a fullback as well. We're just resting everyone, and yes, it hurt our league form, but that's what we needed to do, I felt. And look at the team in the Premier League. Obviously, there's a lot of talent there, but when it comes to actually being a team in the Premier League ready to just consistently pick up results, it's just not there, unfortunately.
Look, it's a good decision if you get over the line. It's a bad decision if you don't get over the line. And we did get over the line.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it comes down to.
Well, I still think, even if we don't get over the line, it didn't work, but I think it was still probably the right thing to do.
Potentially, yeah. No Context Tottenham. This is a nice picture of the 2019 Cup final team out in Madrid.
Yeah, I love that.
And Sonny, the last man standing, and the only one with a trophy to his name for Tottenham Hotspur. What a picture that is.
God, that's an unbelievable picture.
Clara, this is Sonny with Heung-min Dad.
Heung-min Dad got the oversized trousers on. He's a man of style. That's where Sonny gets it from. Come on. Love it. George Bannister says, incredible man manager and superb motivator, but in a top quality league campaign or across multiple competitions, that's his weakness. Spurs can keep Ange if they want to hedge their bets on cup runs, but to be a good team across the board, he has to go with a huge thank you. And look, that was definitely the case this season with the way it all panned out. But if we have a much stronger squad going into next season, you know, people might form different opinions. Yeah, I agree, and I think it's fair to come with the opinion that he's come to understand why. Because first season he went out of all the cups early and finished fifth. So he had a decent league campaign, and this season he's had cups to contend with, and we've completely fallen off a cliff in the league, but done well in the cup. So when you're looking at that, you probably come to the conclusion, okay, you can only do one or the other. But he's only had one season where he's had to do both. Let's see, give him another season. Let's see if he can learn from those mistakes and start to juggle both with a deeper squad. I think definitely a lot of mistakes last season with recruitment, buying too young, too inexperienced, and buying and basically relying too heavily on teenagers with very little talented, yes, but too little inexperience at this level to carry us through times, especially when you double down that recruitment with the injury crisis that we had. So we had to rely on these players for months at a time, and we had to ask them to try and get us wins when they're just so new to the league and the team. It was just a complete kind of melting pot of disaster essentially that happened. But I'm just hopeful and confident that that's not going to happen again. And I know people believe it will, but I really think if we can learn those lessons, it won't necessarily happen again.
Also, you know what I don't understand is when people say that Ange can only adapt for the Europa League. Like, Europa League is just a game of football. Like, a Premier League game is a game of football. Like, so if he's shown he can adapt, that means he can adapt in any game. Like, I don't, just because he only adapted in the Europa League towards the end of the season because that's where our focus was, does that mean he can't adapt in a Premier League campaign next season? Of course it doesn't.
But also he did adapt early. Like, if you look at for example, the game at Anfield, we got battered 4-0, but we tried a low block in that game, and it didn't work at all. We got battered, and Liverpool smashed us. But we did try it, right? Just because it doesn't work doesn't mean he doesn't try and adapt in some games. He's at Everton, he tried to adapt. He went for a back three, didn't work. It was a disaster, but he does try to adapt. And obviously, in the Europa League,
maybe
it did work
successfully then.
Yeah, it's fine. And obviously, Europa League, he managed to do it. But I think people saying he doesn't adapt. I think it's lazy analysis.
Maybe the kind of thing thrown at him should be he can't adapt successfully in the Premier League because he hasn't shown that. Yeah. Maybe in a couple of games like Man City, we didn't play like classic Ange ball in that game, and a few other games in the Premier League. Brentford, we hit them more in the transition kind of thing, and the majority of games where we've done well this season have been more transitional based games. So I think he will look at that next season, and he'll probably able to show those things more often. Yeah, and I think now we've been able to show a different side to us. Like, we are able to sit deep and soak up pressure and actually defend well. Which we haven't seen before. I remember right at the beginning of the season, we were quite good on the ball and keeping possession and keeping penning teams in. But I remember you used to say do we even train defensively? You know what I mean? We used to say that we had the worst rest defense, probably I can imagine. But that's not the case now from what we've seen. So if we can kind of use different strings to our bow, I think now we've worked that out a bit. I think there's reason to believe he can start to use that a bit more. Yeah, I don't think it necessarily means he has to use it every game. No. Which is what people say, he needs to now go defensive. It's not like that, but let's just see it more. Yeah, and especially in big away games, you know what I mean? When we go to Liverpool, when we go to Man City, when we go to you know what I mean? These kind of games, you want to see him manage those games using his head a bit more and a bit more clever situation, which he did do against Man City this season. We beat them 4-0. I also think a lot of it comes from we had such a young, inexperienced team as well. A lot of it is the players themselves implementing his ideas, and because they're inexperienced, they just have been making a lot of mistakes, and they have been. And now they've got a year down the line in that development. Obviously, we get some more experience in. Hopefully, they're all going to be more ready to do what he needs us to do on the pitch. Spurs OTM bringing up a quote from Mesut Ozil back in 2023, and he's going through some unwanted Spurs records, and he says, who else should be able to break that record? Bottle Job FC is back. And what happened with him when he played a Europa League final for Arsenal? He just walked past that trophy with a solemn look on his face. Pretty sure he doesn't have a European trophy, Mesut Ozil. I don't think he ever won one at Real Madrid. No, because they won La Decima after he left. Now that was their first one in a long time. Because Bale scored the winner, and Bale came in when Ozil left. Who's the bottle job now then? I don't think he has. Obviously, he has a World Cup, but he doesn't have a European club level European trophy. Who's the bottle job now then, Mr. Mesut Ozil? This is Spurs fans serenading Ange. This was a lovely moment. Whistle yesterday, brilliant stuff. It must be so special for him, with his family there, in front of the South Stand, getting all the chanting and serenading. Especially when I'm sure his family have been the ones also seeing so much criticism he's had, and they've probably seen
they probably felt a lot of the criticism he's had, and it's probably put him under stress, and it's put them under stress. So for him, his kids, his boys, and his wife to have that moment at the end of a season after he achieved something special in front of the South Stand, probably so. And he's also lifts. I think there's a point he lifts the trophy in front of the South Stand here.
But there was a moment just before that where his wife like taps him on the shoulder and goes, "Go on, give it to them." So his wife was like pushing him to go and do that with the fans. It was nice.
So lovely. So I'm so happy he had that moment, and he's had a few of those moments over the last few days. But I'm so happy for him because he's just taken so much this season. He has the whole season.
Which, a lot of it's been warranted.
A lot of it, but it's also, first of all, a lot is warranted, but a lot of it is unwarranted in terms of just like him calling him a clown, bashing him this quote over the head with him second season, always win something the second season. All these big accounts, whenever we get knocked out of an FA Cup, saying, "Oh, who always wins something in the second season? Ha ha ha, always wins something in the second season," and constantly bashing him over the head with it. And then now he's come away with that trophy, and he's basically stuck two fingers up to everyone, and he's achieved. And his story goes on. His story of where he's been, where he's come from, and where he is now, and winning something everywhere he goes, and doing it at a club that hasn't won anything in 17 years. Like, it's just a phenomenal, continuation of that story.
Champions of Europe says, Ange with the worst Spurs team in history still having a bigger European legacy than Wenger. That is quite something, isn't it?
Unbelievable.
Not just the European legacy than Wenger, European legacy than the whole of Arsenal Football Club in their history.
Exactly.
Next one's from Cody Mack. If you were going to sack Ange, it should have happened ages ago. You can't leave him in charge in the hope he wins the Europa League. Have him succeed and then sack him. He starts next season on thin ice for me, but he's earned the right to continue. I don't begrudge anyone who wants him out. And yeah, I think that's fair enough, to be honest. Yeah. I do think that's completely fair enough. And that's pretty much where I stand on it.
Look, for me, it depends. What does, you say starts on thin ice, but like, what does that mean? Like, how bad does it have to be to sack him, or do you have to set him certain targets at the beginning of the season, like after this point we have to be here, or like what does thin ice mean?
I don't think it's like you have to be at a certain position by like the 10th or 15th game of the season, but we need to show that we mean business in the season. If we've like started the first 15 games, because sometimes you can know like from the start of the season, like Nuno, he won his first 3 games, but we all knew that wasn't sustainable. We all knew the results were about to turn, and they ultimately did, and he ended up getting sacked, and quite rightly so, because it just never clicked. And look, maybe he was sacked a bit too early and wasn't able to implement his ideas. But Ange, this is his 3rd season, so if it just doesn't look right from the get-go, and we're not putting coherent performances together, we're getting over the line in some games, but it's just not looking right.
How early can you sack him?
I think between 10 and 15 games.
Between 10 and 15, which is what, November time?
Yeah.
That's usually sacking season, to be fair.
I think around that time.
Well, before the January window.
Yeah, before like the big December rush and then January window.
Fair enough. Yeah, I don't know. I get, depending on how bad we are. I guess November's a good, kind of give him to November to kind of, you get some Champions League games in there. You get, see where we're doing the Carabao, and also the league barometer, like see where we are.
If it comes to November and we've already had like 6 or 7 losses in the season.
What about if we're flying high in the Champions League?
But I mean, by then, how many games in the Champions League would be like 3 games into the Champions League?
3 or 4 maybe, yeah.
Yeah, which is, we'll be halfway through the group stage. Because it starts later.
Is it?
Because the Champions League group stage goes into the new year now, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's like September to January.
Yeah, so it won't be that far into the Champions League. It'll be like 3 or 4 games.
3 or 4, that's halfway through.
I guess, yeah.
8 games. Well, if we're like in the top 8 in the Champions League and we're like 10th in the league.
I still think it will be able to be carried on with a new manager. So I think from then until November, it has to be judged on mainly the league form. Do you not agree?
No, I understand, but I'm just wondering what.
No, do you agree?
Yeah, probably. I think if he's still showing this kind of league form up until November, then I think you just got to say, okay, we gave it a go. We gave him another chance. We've given another like 10 to 15 games. We've given him some Champions League games, and it's just we're not seeing any improvement whatsoever. So I think we've just got to go in a different direction. I think that's fine. Cup? from the Super Cup. Oh, are you going to sack the manager that won the Super Cup? Are you really going to do that? I think that's fair. I also kind of feel like a lot of times when you're only giving a manager till then, I do agree, sometimes you are on a bit of hiding to nothing when you're already in that position. It's almost like you're kind of waiting for it to go wrong. But
I don't think so. Like, because if it goes wrong, it goes wrong. Like, we're giving him the chance to make it right in the league, aren't we? And I think that's still a significant period of time.
You know, but if we're playing well while losing, like let's say we start the season like this season, like we did last season. You know, playing well, but just getting a bit lucky. Now, what if we're like, you know, playing well, but like some games unlucky, some games are winning really well, some games we have one or two really bad defeats like Leicester and Brighton, but some games we played really well, but we didn't get the result we should have. Like, do we sack it? Like, let's say, okay, just like this season, let's say, when was the Man City game? That was in December, right? I think we were 6th after 12 games. It was 6 wins. I think it was 7 wins, 5 losses after 12 games. Do we sack him if we're in that position?
Sorry, say that. What's the record? 6 wins.
It was 7 wins, and I think it was 7 wins and 5 losses.
7 wins
in December. And I think it was 6th.
Yeah, I said, like, if we get like 5, 6, 7 losses by November, then he probably has to go.
But we got 7 wins, and we were near the top.
Yeah, look, if we're near the top, it'll be hard to sack him, to be honest. So, yeah, I think you just have to keep him until it's untenable.
Till the wheels fall off.
Yeah. Until, like, fans start to lose hope, and maybe, you know, I think as well, if we lose a significant amount of games start next season, I do think players will start to lose a bit of hope as well.
Yeah, probably, yeah. There's only so much they can probably take.
Yeah. BLTHFC, did I do this one?
No, you did the Cody Mack one, I think.
I've come to the conclusion that we literally cannot sack Ange. What message does that send to future managers? Don't risk winning silverware at the expense of a respectable league position. Otherwise, you'll be sacked. This is why we've had managers prioritise top 4 over cups. I mean, we've had managers prioritise top 4 over clubs because that's been what the club hierarchy have given them as a remit for the season. In terms of this, like, what message does it send to other managers? I mean, at the end of the day, he did finish 17th, so there's still like
some sort of standard.
Yeah,
which is fine, which I understand. Like, you know, 17th, you this club can't be finishing 17th. And I think it's fair enough standard to have, but as well, those big European Cup competitions do get you back in the Champions League anyway, so you kind of get the best of both worlds. You give glory to the fans, and you get that Champions League money for the club.
Yeah, but 17th is also
17th is 17th. Yeah.
I don't think
those other managers probably, even if they would have prioritized cups.
How many years in the last 10 would we have got relegated with this points tally?
I think none.
None.
In the last 10?
Yeah, in the last 10 years.
We would have, like, earlier on in the Premier League. For the last 10 years, you wouldn't have been relegated.
Has 40 points not been a thing over the last 10 years then? Because that's been usually like the thing, hasn't it? Like, hit 40 points, you'll be all right.
But that's because 40 points is like guaranteed.
Yeah.
But like usually it's like
actually we didn't even hit. What was it? 38.
Yeah. Usually it's like 30. It's like 33 is usually all right. This nowadays.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't looked into it. I'm pretty sure with 38 we're pretty safe.
Has anyone gone down with 38
The most points? We'll put it this way: the most points anyone has ever gone down with was 42. Right? That was West Ham in 03. That's the most. And so but even that was really rare. And that was like 4 points more than what we had. So I think teams have gone down with 38 because West Ham did, but mainly earlier on in the Premier League.
It's mad. Like 25 points Leicester got, and they finished 18th. Last year, Luton 26. Year before, Leicester 34. Year before that was Burnley 35, so it's getting closer. Year before that was Fulham 28, so that's back down there. Then was Bournemouth 34, so not far off it, to be fair, like 4 points. Cardiff 34. Swansea 33. Hull 34, so it looks like 34 is like the most.
Yeah.
Newcastle 37. and 10 years would be Hull 35.
Yeah, so you would have stayed up.
Newcastle's 37 is the most. So we would have stayed up in one of those seasons would have stayed up by 1 point. In a few of them, like 4 points. So it's still very, very close.
Yeah, true. It's close, but we would have stayed up.
Yeah. All right. Next up is Kane from the Lane. I think that if he sacks Ange now, I'll go from the most connected I've ever felt to this football club to the least straight away. It'll be worse than when he sacked Poch, and I didn't think that was possible. Levy, do the right thing for once. And it's true, like, in terms of feeling connected to his football club, because I think, like, the majority of fans, particularly match-going fans and, you know, fans that are just so proud of this Europa League trophy, it's probably made everyone just fall in love with the club all over again. I know that's how I feel.
Yeah, 100%. And I think we've finally got that feeling, that connection, we're feeling that unity. And, you know, we'll then have to get behind a different manager, which I'm sure that we will if whoever's appointed, but it's just about establishing that connection again. And I don't know if it's worth losing this one just for like looking at the options out there. I'm not just convinced that that's the right call right now.
Richarlison on Instagram put a post out today, and he says, when this season started, all I wanted was to be healthy, to help my team have a better year. I knew it would be important to have to me mentally, and also finally repay somehow the love I've received these past few years from the Spurs fans and all those who cheer me on. Nobody said it would be easy, but they also didn't imagine it would be this hard. There were days and nights of much anxiety, treatments, pain, and a martyr that seemed to have no end. But there was, and it was when I returned to Brazil for a week in February after another injury that things started to change. Being around mine in those days changed a lot for me, had me feeling like old Charlin, the kid who just wanted to play ball. Being in the field has always been therapeutic for me, even before I discovered the power of therapy. It's my best medicine and the one that cures almost all my problems. And it was like that, playing ball without fear, until my legs could go no longer take fatigue and cramping that I felt on the field on Wednesday. With a trophy in hands, a heart full of joy, and with my team so undiscredited during the season champion. Thank you to everyone who has been by my side and been part of the very special moment, always believing and encouraging me, even in the most difficult moments. Thank you to Tottenham management, players, technical committee, staff, and my whole staff for making it happen together. And we're going for more with 3 blue hearts. So that doesn't sound like he's thinking of leaving.
Yeah, we're going for more. I mean, the paragraph before does.
Yeah.
And then he says we're going for more. So is that a I'm not leaving post or goodbye, I don't know, like, post?
I did get the sense, being at the stadium yesterday, from what he was like, it felt like he was like saying a goodbye, or like, I don't know. He just looked...
Maybe he felt like it could be a goodbye.
Yeah, because you know what Richarlison's usually like. He usually like...
So emotional.
But like, he's such a happy guy for the most part, right? And he's always jovial and having jokes with people and having fun. I didn't see that from him after the game yesterday. And he was going into the fans, walking away a bit subdued, sometimes just standing on the pitch by himself, looking a bit down. So I thought, like, mate, is this going to be the last we've seen of him?
Yeah, I think likelihood, yes. And I think, look, fair play to Richie, because in this Europa League run, he's had a really big part to play, I think, in the semi-finals and the final, in terms of how hard he worked and how he playing on that left-hand side, doing a lot of kind of donkey work for the team. And fair play to him. He's had he's come into the team late into the season, and again with injury problems, and he's made an impact. And fair play to him doing on that left-hand side. I just feel like Richie... Obviously, I think there's a good player in there. I think we've seen that when he's been on the pitch and been fit. There is a good player there, but unfortunately, it just hasn't been able to happen anywhere near enough over the last 2 years, and that's been a big problem. And reading that what he said, it was very heartfelt, and I appreciate what he's saying. But he last season it was very similar. He was going through a tough time, then something happened, and it kind of changed everything. And he obviously went on that goal scoring streak, and like there was like a moment where it changed for him. But it's just so sad that it went kind of back again, where he went back down to that mind, it got into his mind or got into his own head again, and he started feeling down, and he had to have another moment where it all changed. I just hope he can kind of get out of those moments where he can just be Rishi and be himself and be that player that we know on a consistent basis and get on that pitch. And look, if you told me right now next season Rishi's going to be fit the whole season, I'll be like, okay, he can stay. But unfortunately, we can't really rely on that right now. That's
for me,
problem.
even if you're going to tell me like Richie is going to be fit for the season, I would still say we probably should part companies, in my opinion, because you're looking at the two number 9 options, Richarlison and Solanke, and they're both decent, good players in their own right. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like that's like a Europa League strike force, and I feel like we need one to take us to the next level. That's a Champions League level striker. I don't really believe that Solanke and Richarlison are like top level Champions League strikers. I feel like they're just a level below that.
They're both, but you got two good strikers there, and I think we haven't had them both fit up until now. Really, when did Richarlison come back? Richarlison and Solanke came back. I can't even remember. But
it was in the last couple of months of the season.
Literally, and when they've come back, they've both actually been quite good. I feel.
Yeah, look, they've had impacts. Don't get me wrong, but like I said, I feel like they're just we need one of that level and one of a better level, in my opinion. I don't think they're both like Champions League. Like that's not two pairings that you want to go in the Champions League with, in my opinion.
I think in an ideal world, you want an upgrade. Yeah, I think so. But I also do think like when you can have two good level strikers like that, and that be good enough. I really do believe that, because if you can get them both scoring goals and being confident and rotating with each other and battling out with each other, driving each other on, those are two good options to have. But I think in an ideal world, yes, if we can upgrade on one of them, I would do it. I would do it.
Exactly.
Sure.
But look, I've always been a supporter of Richie. I love Richie. I love his mentality. I just feel like it's probably come the time where it's probably best to move on.
If we can get a good fee for yeah, I think so. I think it's that time, unfortunately, for him.
All right, let's move on. Next up is Spurs OTM. This is the moment when the stadium is buzzing, and then a certain chairman comes on screen, and then the stadium goes into boos just for a few seconds. They quickly got him off the screen. But I thought that was interesting because they're parading the trophy around the stadium. Obviously, the stadium is buzzing. Everyone's cheering, and then he comes on screen, and there's a boo.
Which is it's interesting, and also obviously goes to show that the feelings in the stadium towards him, even after winning that trophy, hasn't gone away. And all those protests we had during the season is not as much as all the toxicity around the club has fallen in one fell swoop. Not necessarily the feelings towards Levy and the management, because maybe they feel like we've done it in spite of them rather because of them. But what I want to say is he does deserve some credit, because he didn't sack Ange, and I think everyone was calling for Ange to be sacked, and everyone was saying that had to be done, and why he took the decision we don't know for sure, but the reality is he didn't take that decision, and instead of doing what he usually does, which is sack the manager during the season and then write off the rest of the season, he stuck with him till the end. He might still sack him now, but he stuck with him, and it paid off because we got that trophy. And I think if he did sack him, I think there's a good chance we wouldn't have that trophy, in my opinion.
Yeah, so, that is fair enough to say, but it's all about what happens now. Now is where he earns his money. Now is where he can build a bit of kind of momentum with the fan base and a bit of a connection with the fan base. If he puts his money where his mouth is, if he actually delivers on what he says he's going to deliver, and he wants to use this trophy as a springboard. That's what he said before the game yesterday. And I think that's when he can win a few fans over, if he goes and get us the experience that we need to kick us on to the next level and to show that we can bring sustained success to this football club that he says that he wants to do.
Yeah, because we've been here before, haven't we? In moments
many times
where we've been in moments where we know we can kick on, and he needs to do it. He needs to show that this is not another false dawn. This is not another moment that's going to fall by the wayside, and this is actually a moment we are going to kick on as a football club and really go for things and actually be serious in the market and be serious about kicking on. And I guess that's why there was so much love, yet when he comes on, there's still boos, because as much as, in my opinion anyway, he is part of that success of winning this trophy. I do believe that. But as much as he is, he still needs to be kicking us on. He still needs to be taking us to that next level, and that doesn't change, even though we have got that trophy. But still, booing him with that while we're parading that trophy and we're booing him. I don't know how I feel about it, but I understand it, but I don't know how I feel about it. Look, I think he's part of the success. I do.
But he's also a part of why the main reason of why we went into this season so underprepared.
I agree with you.
And you know, as much as it finished off in a really good moment in winning the Europa League, first major trophy under ENIC's 24 years tenure, like, yeah, fine, he deserves some credit for not sacking Ange and helping deliver the trophy. However, this season has been such a shit show. The amount of losses, the way we finished in the league, and I think that's why people are booing.
No, as I said, I understand it. I do. I completely understand it. I just don't know how I feel about it. I don't know if I agree with it.
And also, you're looking at where we're at right now with other teams, Liverpool making significant signings, Arsenal making significant signings, Manchester United, the team that we beat in the cup final, who are also finishing as low as we did, making a significant signing. And we don't even know who our director of football or manager is going to be next season, and we can't make signings right now. The planning already isn't exactly perfect for next season.
No, that's also true. But this was this is while that's fine. But this is while we're literally parading the trophy round the stadium, and for that, those questions for this summer, not for that moment. And for me, I don't know, just booing him at that moment just didn't feel right.
All right. Next up is Kayla says, the way Leo went out of his way to find his uncle Sonny and say hi. He's his father's son for sure. I think this is Ben Davis's kid. Ben Davis is Davis's kid.
One, I think, because you want to.
Oh, this is Sonny with Matt Wells and his family. Sonny just loves kids.
It's one of the best parts of the season, seeing Sonny with all the kids at the end of the season.
Yeah, that's
always so cute.
Doesn't really sit right just saying like Sonny loves kids, but he actually does.
He's great with kids. He's great with kids, Sonny. He just needs some of his own.
Yeah. Once it's all... Heung-min Dad must be watching.
Come on, he's got the trophy now. Let him get married. Come on, it's time. It's time.
Sonny needs a kid of his own, and yeah, the one further down. This is him with Ben Davis's kid, and
Scott, yeah,
and obviously Sonny is his godfather.
Yeah, fantastic, so cute. And Leo went to search him out. So funny. Oh, Sonny's so cute.
This one is brilliant. This is brilliant. Spurs fan in Thailand doing a victory parade to celebrate our Europa League win. They had their own open top bus in Thailand with just fans on it. I love this. Just wait for it. Look at this bus that comes marauding through. Just holding up all the traffic on some busy high street in Thailand. Look at it.
Do they have the Europa League trophy?
I don't know.
Oh, this is brilliant. God, they've won. Yeah, they do. They've got a Europa League trophy. Absolutely brilliant. Oh, that's fantastic. That is absolutely fantastic. We should do that.
And then tuk-tuk's behind with Spurs flags.
There's another one there behind. Oh my God. Absolutely phenomenal stuff from Spurs. 3 buses is more than the actual parade. Look at that.
Hilarious.
Another bus, 4 buses.
Big up to Spurs Korea,
God, big
to
up.
Spurs Thailand, man.
Unbelievable.
Kieran says, we're going to have an actual discourse because we're losing an irrelevant match when everyone's hammered in the last 3 days. Please.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
some normality to the timeline. Come on. Like, these guys have been literally drinking their hearts out for the last 3 or 4 days, and you expect them to put in a coherent performance.
Yeah, never going to happen. This one is the Yidvids compilation. We're probably not going to watch the whole thing, but it's great. You should go watch it. Dan Yidvids with another generational edit. Fantastic stuff.
Yeah, and the videos that have been coming out since the final have just been...
Poof. The ones with Ange over the music of My Way. Oh, that really gets me. I love it.
Did it my way. Jay says, this is the most shameless caption I've ever seen in my life. And after losing 4-1, Tottenham tweeted out, the Europa League champions are beaten on the final day.
I love that. I absolutely love that.
Factual.
Absolutely factual. It was like when they said, when we lost, we lost to Villa. It's like, good minutes for Sonny.
Yeah. I think the Spurs admin has done a great job over the last week or so.
Yeah, for sure. 100%. They need a pay rise. They've been cooking.
And then Tottenham tweeting out this incredible support today with all the flags
phenomenal.
out.
The sea of flags was a really sight to behold.
With the amount of flags and scarves I've got over the past couple of weeks, I mean, I'm really starting to build up a stockpile of them at home.
To frame them.
Nice one. Sonny says, just cried a little bit. And this is Madison with his kids on the pitch yesterday.
So cute. He's got the celebration down pat. Well done.
Tottenham saying a true club legend, and that is he definitely.
That's what it's all about. Look at that. Him and his trophy. Oh, so good.
Sash says final one this season. So this is the stats. So with Van der Ven and Romero, what's this? This points per game over a 38 game season. We would have finished on 70 points, which would be the fourth in the league.
Yeah, I mean, it just goes to show. I mean, we'll obviously be very reliant on them, but it shows what a difference it makes when we've got these guys on the pitch.
Yeah. I mean, other would just have been what that's just Danso and Gray or Davis and Gray, isn't it?
Basically,
and that's
17th. And to be fair, if you're looking at like Davis and Gray, how many teams they start for a centre back in the league?
None, probably.
That's the fit. So you know what I mean.
Jay Harris says Brighton have just scored their fourth goal, but Spurs fans are still loudly chanting for their team, and that made me proud yesterday. Yeah,
this is literally, you can see the flag. This is literally just after Brighton scored, and there people are getting the flags out, and that just goes to show how the feeling was in the stadium yesterday, despite the heavy defeat.
This one says people want us to win. It could ruin the chant's lyrics. Heck no.
Come on, we got the chant, people. We have the chant.
This one says, as you boys were talking about tattoos on stream, I thought you'd appreciate this one from yesterday.
Is Sava still watching?
I think he
Come on, because look at this tattoo.
I always win things in my second year.
That's a great tattoo. Big up. Big up to Spursy 1567. Always win something in your second year.
Oh, I've lost my place now.
When you scroll down, is it Sonny and Madison?
Yeah, Sonny and Madison. They're forming quite the bond, aren't they, Sonny and Madison?
Yeah, they really are. Madison.
Ben Haynes tweeting out, what an atmosphere. Big up to Ben Haynes. He's done a brilliant job all season as well.
Phenomenal. Glad he's really done well, the interviews and everything, and I'm sure it's been an emotional time for him as well, being a massive Spurs fan. And yeah, what a job he's done on the bus, on the parade, struggling to get those interviews while all the players were just acting like children.
He would have loved it.
Yeah, fantastic. But yeah, look at the sea of flags before the game. It's just phenomenal. It just shows how much this means. I mean, if the parade didn't, I mean, everything has sort of since then. But it's just, yeah, look at that. That sea of flags is something special.
Yeah. Ali Gold just tweeted out a heartfelt message from Postecoglou to Spurs fans.
No, I just like that so I could read it later. No, right, because I read it. If you scroll down, there's a funny Georgia Killier before the game. If you scroll down, he did a predicted lineup.
Yeah, I heard he put us at centre back.
He put me and you at centre back because everyone else was going to be too drunk. Big up to Georgia Killier.
And I think the one above that from Ben Haynes is pretty much how we were all feeling, needing some halls or some soothers.
Honestly, yeah, my
voice is still screwed.
Literally taking a massive battering of the voice.
Yeah. But I think that's it. That is how the internet did react to the last 24 hours of Tottenham Hotspur. Glory, glory night.